Keep your phones off and stay seated during our speaker. Now help me enthusiastically welcome our speaker, Curtis, tonight.
I'm Curtis, and I'm an alcoholic. So I'm just a little bit nervous, but so this is my home group, Rarely, and yeah, it's cool to be speaking here at Rarely. I really enjoy coming to this meeting every week, which was not the case when I came into AA. I really hated going to meetings. I really hated the idea of being sober. I'm 11 years sober, and I'm 31. And so I got sober super young, and I just did not want to be in AA. I did not want to be sober. And for a while, I kind of thought that I was kind of unique in having those thoughts, that I just didn't want to be here when I first got here. But I think most people really don't want to be here when they get here. But most of that has changed. I really do like coming to AA, and I love Alcoholics Anonymous today, and I feel like I have a really meaningful sobriety today. So anyways, I'll tell you just kind of a little bit what happened, or what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. So I started when I was 13, and I can't remember like any feeling of just like not fitting in or feeling different, but I just was getting drunk, and I just remember like the first time, like it was great, and like everybody kind of says, but I just remember feeling like I could be my true self when I got drunk, and when I was hanging out with people. I was getting really hammered with a couple of my buddies, and we got into his dad's liquor cabinet. And I was like, finally, I can be who I really like want to be and not be judged. But I could make an ass of myself, and everybody was kind of okay with it. And I threw up everywhere, and it was like, yeah, I kind of want to do this as much as I can. Because I can remember always having like I said, I don't really know that I was different in any way or thinking that, but I can remember thinking like, if you really knew who I was, or how the way that I acted, or all the things that I really wanted to say, then you would just really shun me and not want to hang out with me. And even early on in sobriety, and still sometimes today, I think that I can remember coming in as a newcomer and thinking like, man, I just can't say anything to anybody, because nobody would really want to hang out with me if they knew who I really was. And I know, like, to quote Mike here, it's like the fear of looking bad really is a big one, if not the one, that really just, like, drives a lot of actions. I mean, it did back then, and it does today. It's not, like, as paralyzing today than it was when I was new in sobriety. Like, I really couldn't even go up to somebody and shake their hand when I was new in sobriety. I was just so afraid of what people would think of me. I was like, oh my God, I'm going to say the wrong thing to somebody, and then I just won't be able to fit in or do something right. And I think just as a result of having somebody say, you know, you're going to do this now, and just pushing me into those super uncomfortable actions, I kind of got over some of that. I mean, I feel like there's more to it than just saying, like, yeah, you're going to do it now. But really, it's like walking through those fears, and on the other side of the fear, it was really, that's where I became okay. But anyways, back to kind of where I was at, was I started at 13, and then it just kind of progressed from there. I really don't have, like, a super long, crazy drunkalog. But most of it was in high school, and there I just, like, I can't recall ever being, like, a crazy blackout drinker, but there are just, like, periods of high school where I can't recall, like, months at a time. So I started drinking and doing other drugs too, mainly is what I was doing. But I would always get drunk if people were getting drunk. That was kind of just kind of trying to fit in most of the time. And but I really did get into other substances, and I think that's really what brought me to my knees, for those other substances. But kind of want to like touch on some things in my drunkalog, but just to like qualify. But there's just like not a lot there. I mean, it's like I went through high school, and I mean, I stole from my parents. I did like a lot of messed up things to my parents mainly, and that's what happened. And I was just like not a good kid to my parents in high school. And I mean, I was a crappy employee at like a few part-time jobs. I stole from them. And that's kind of what high school looked like for me. And then I got out of high school and kept doing that for a year and a half or so. And I also have epilepsy too, so I would kind of regularly have a seizure here and there as kind of a result of just like a super bad hangover, or just kind of detoxing off of whatever I was detoxing, whatever kind of withdrawals I was having. And so the way that I got into AA was one day I had a seizure, and I got into an argument with my mom about something, probably drug use. That was kind of the usual thing. And she was like, "You need to get out of our house, or you can go to rehab." And that's kind of what it came down to at the end of that argument. And I was not ready to quit doing what I was doing. So I left the house I was 19 at the time, so I left the house for a few hours. And I just kind of walked around the neighborhood, because I was 19, and I really had no idea how to like live in the world or pay insurance or do anything. They were doing everything for me. I mean, I was very much still a little boy. So I came back after a few hours, said, "All right, I'll go do rehab," with no intention of getting sober. And so I went to the rehab, because I can remember having thoughts of just like, if I can never run out of this, I'll be okay. Like, this is how I want to live my life forever, and this is all I need. So I did go to the rehab here in Prescott. I went to the Prescott House. And I also have this like little voice zapper in case you hear my voice cut out. That's for epilepsy, but so I went to the Prescott House, and I really just was not having fun there at all, and was still not into sobriety. Like I was saying in the beginning, was not into it. And so I guess if you're here and you really are not into this thing, that's okay. You can still have a meaningful sobriety, because that was my experience. And I really love AA today and enjoy it, and have a lot of good friendships today. So I went through that house. I actually didn't graduate. I stayed 6 months, and started to there were like periods in there where I was like, yeah, this is cool, I guess. I mean, people in here, I like hanging out with them, but most of the time I felt like I was just really depressed as a result of my own not getting into it. I don't feel like I ever had real depression. I just ate a lot of donuts. I got kind of heavy in there. And that was my rehab. They taught me, I feel like the best thing they taught me was like, you're gonna like do your own stuff. You're gonna make your own bed. You're gonna go get your own groceries. You're gonna do your own things for yourself. And I did take that from the rehab. That was a good experience that I took from the rehab. Those were good lessons, good life lessons. And so, but one day I did sneak off from that rehab, and I called my mom from a payphone, because they monitored the phones, and I said, "Hey, Mom, pretty sure that I'm cured and I'm ready to get out of here. and I promise you, I'm never gonna drink again. And I just, I gave her, manipulated her into getting me out of there. She's like, okay, that's fine, but you're gonna go to a sober house in Flagstaff, because I was also like, I really want to go to school. I have these big plans and everything. She was like, okay, that's fine. And she had found a sober house in Flagstaff. And so I went up there and started going into this sober house, and that felt like a cakewalk compared to the rehab. So I was in there still not super stoked about sobriety at this time. But I did get a sponsor, because that was, you had to have a sponsor as part of the sober house, and had to do that whole deal. Got a part-time job, started paying the rent. These were all like super good lessons that I learned at like 20 years old, 21, to just how to pay rent and just be a functioning member of society that I just had no idea how to do. Remember when I left and walked around the neighborhood, I was like, what do I do out here? I just learned all those things. But I did get a sponsor who was really involved with AA, and he was really into doing the actions of AA. And I'm so grateful looking back that I had that sponsor, because I was so in my head all the time, and just doing these simple actions that did not require any thinking really helped me just kind of act my way into a new way of thinking. And that's what I needed at the time. He just brought me to meetings, was like, we're going to make coffee now, we're going to stack chairs now, we're going to do all these very simple things. And I started to feel different just as a result of taking those simple actions early on. And because all the thinking in my head was such a selfish way of thinking. I was always thinking about what other people were thinking of me, and it was like, gotta make the right moves. And it was just so selfish, and all these actions were so selfless, and it was just like always doing other things for other people, and it was like the perfect way to combat that thinking. That's really how AA is set up, just to work with others all the time. And so I started doing that, and the other really cool thing that happened in Flagstaff when I got there there was this group of young people that was just super enthusiastic about AA, and they were traveling all over the state doing a bunch of young people's conventions, and they were just had so much energy for AA. And from my perspective, those were the cool kids in AA. And at first I was very intimidated by them. It almost looked like this high school cliquish thing. That I really wanted to be in, from the outside looking in. I was like, man, I really want to be in that group, get in there. But I just didn't know how. I didn't know how to get in. Somehow, this is what happened. They got the bid for Prescott, like we got right now, or they got the bid for Askepaw, like we got it right now in Prescott. They were going around town saying, we need a ton of help. We need everybody to help us. That's what's going on right now here in Prescott. We're trying to get on that. So I got on that committee and started to get to know some of these people, and they weren't all high school cliquey, like they were cool people. Turns out, and one of them came up to me and was like, "Hey, dude, you want to go to Askepaw, man?" And I was like, "What the hell is that, dude?" But he could have asked me anything, and I would have been like, "Yes, I'll go. I just want to hang out with you people." And so he's like, okay, cool. You just need maybe a little bit of money to throw down on the hotel, a little bit for gas, and you're in, dude. Just get in the car. And I was like, hell yeah, sweet. I'm hanging out with the cool kids. And so I was super happy to go to that conference. That was in San Francisco, and it was honestly, it was not that exciting for me, because I just stood around outside and chain smoked cigarettes, because I had no idea. I was still how do I interact with these people? Still trying to get it, but luckily I had a pretty good friend that rolled with me that I was comfortable hanging out with, and he just smoked with me too, so that was cool. So that was a good time. It turned out to be pretty good, actually. And they were doing a ton of that. We went to a bunch of those, and eventually it was like, yeah, dude, I know how to like hang out with these people. And then you just like get on the dance floor, and you're like, oh shit, how do I do this? And you start to get more comfortable doing that. Yeah, those were super good times. They still are. We're still doing that kind of stuff. We're going to California this weekend, so you're all welcome to come. Yeah, I guess I want to touch on like some of the things that like really like significant things in sobriety. So yeah, I had like maybe a year at this time in sobriety, and I feel like this is kind of when it was starting to change, like my perspective on sobriety, and I was just starting to feel excited about sobriety, and some cool things were starting to happen. One thing that I do want to share, it's just kind of coming to me, is that when I got sober, and I was virgin when I got sober, and when I got sober, I just had so much shame about this thing, because I felt like I just wasn't a real man because of that. And so that's just that. And so what happened was I got into a relationship with a newcomer at like a year sober. And that was, so it felt, at the time, it felt like super exciting. And I was like, damn, sobriety is badass now. And, but it was not okay. It was not, like, I really had no reason to be with her at that time. But I mean, I don't mean to like romanticize that in any way, because I really don't. I really had no reason to be involved with her. But I guess what I wanted to share was that more or less that I just had like a lot of shame around that, I guess. I don't know why that was coming up in my head. It was, and that was no different after like I lost my virginity. It was like I'm not like such a great man now. It's like nothing changed really. So, and I mean, I still struggle with dating today. I'm bad at interacting with women a lot of times. So anyways, let's move on from that one. Yeah, so some other things that like really were like crucial in my sobriety that kind of were just like game changers was when I started to sponsor guys. When I got to the ninth step, my sponsor was like, okay, you're ready to start sponsoring guys. And of course, I was super afraid to do that. And I don't know, it turned out to be one of the best things ever. That seems to be like one of the themes of my sobriety, is a lot of the things that I've been super afraid to do or super uncomfortable doing have turned out to be super awesome. So I feel like I've been sponsoring guys pretty steadily throughout my entire sobriety. I've always been having at least a couple sponsees. So if you ever get the chance to sponsor somebody, I would do it. The other thing that my sponsor kind of pushed me into early on was he worked in a jail, and he ran like a rehab program in there, and I've only done 24 hours jail time once for a DUI, and so he was pushing me in to do taking meetings into the jail. And I was so scared to do that because I was like, man, these are hardened criminals. They're going to eat me alive if I go in there and try to like tell them about AA or something. I don't know. But I mean, I went in there once with him, and then after that, he's like, "Hey, you're on your own now." And it turned out to be a super awesome commitment. That was one of the best commitments that I've ever had. And they're not like crazy guys. They're just like people like us that got caught up for the things we were doing. Um, that's what it was. I was like, okay, yeah, cool. We're just having a regular meeting in here. And every time I would walk out of there at night, it was like just felt like $1,000,000 coming out of there. It was awesome. Never did I go, oh man, that was terrible coming out of there. But so, anyways, so I was just doing a lot of that AA stuff, that we do, and getting into a lot of good service work. Going to a lot of roundups. That's kind of how the Flagstaff sobriety looked. But after a little while, I did start to get dry in Flagstaff. I started to get really focused on, because I was also studying at NAU, and I just had these ideas that I started to just started to develop these ideas that I needed these really good grades in my degree to impress somebody in an interview and get the great job and get the great house, and that's what I need to have a great wife and a great family. And I was just living so far out in the future, and that just became my obsession for the last, I don't know, 5 or 6 months of my school degree. And I just was so wrapped up in that and starting to kind of slow down a lot on the AA, because I was like, oh, I don't really have time for that. I got to do homework. I don't have time for this or that. School is more important right now until I graduate. And I just started to really hate life a lot. And it wasn't fun. And I feel like I've had a few periods like that since, where I've just kind of slowed down on the AA because something else has become more important. And it really sucks. I don't recommend it. What eventually happened was I graduated. I feel like that's kind of the only thing that saved me at that time, was I graduated and I moved all at the same time to Prescott. And I really hated Prescott at first too. But I think when I got here, I knew that my mental state was so crappy, and I really hated life at the time, that I knew that I needed to get back into AA. So I did jump right back in, and I think that's really the only thing that kind of helped me kind of come back around. So yeah, I got plugged back in, but I did hate Prescott when I first got here. Primarily because it wasn't Flagstaff. It wasn't what I was used to. It didn't have all my same friends there. It wasn't the fellowship that I was comfortable with. Once again, I was outside of my comfort zone. I felt brand new again. But, I mean, today I feel like Prescott is my home and I never want to leave. And I love it here, just because I really feel like I have found a lot of good meetings where I'm comfortable at, and I feel like it is home, and I've developed a lot of good friendships here. Yeah, Prescott's pretty cool. So I moved here, and for that job, that great job, and finally got it. So I was working that job for a little while, and the other thing that I was kind of doing when I got here, and when I look back on it now, was people would ask me what I do, and I would tell them, and I would feel like I would kind of flex it on them, but I don't know why I'm sharing that, but I'm just trying to be honest, I guess, but that's not a very cool thing that I did. But and I don't enjoy, I mean, at the time it would give me such a small little quick high, then it was like, no, there's no more to that. And then it would go away, and I was like, okay, I'm just kind of done doing that. And then, because I felt like after I had so much self-worth built into that job, after a time I could tell that I had a lot of fear around losing that job, and last March I actually got laid off from that job, which turned out to be a really good thing. Let me tell you, I feel like it helped me get through that fear, and because I always had this lingering fear that, like, man, I could lose this job, and people would be like, what an idiot, why did you lose that job? And that's what the fear was. And but it was like worse than, like, man, I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage. That's not what I was afraid of. It was, what are people going to think of me if I lose this job? Isn't that screwed up? It's kind of funny, though. So that's where I was at. And so, like, really, they called me up one morning, and they're just like, yep, we got to let you go. And my world just fell apart. And I was like, damn, my life's pretty much over now. But yeah, I went to a meeting that day, and still didn't feel much better, honestly. But I was hanging out with people that I enjoy hanging out with. But I did get a much better job later on, just like a month or so later, and I enjoyed this job too. I mean, it's a really good job, so that kind of worked out. But the thing is like, I would have never imagined that's how I would have got into, like, a better job. I would have just been like, nope, I'm staying at this job, and then I want a promotion. That's how I would have planned it out. So it's like, through these, like, hard times in sobriety that I come through on the other side, it, like, strengthens my faith in a higher power. It's because God has these, like, crazy plans that get you through to the other side, and that I never would have imagined. That's how it's going to work out. Because that helped me get over that fear that I had in my head of just like, yeah, I'm going to lose this job, and I'm going to be an idiot because of it. I mean, so that's kind of that little tidbit there. So, yeah, I mean, probably not going to take up the whole time here. What time is it here? 7:41. All right, so guess I'll just go with what it's like today. I feel like today it is pretty awesome today. I still have, like, bad days or bad moments where I screw things up, or I just, like, I don't know, just get down. I feel like most of it is self-imposed, though. It's a result of my own actions. And if I just kind of stop doing the work, I stop feeling good. If I keep doing the work, then I keep feeling good. I mean, right now I feel like I'm very busy in AA. I have my hands in a lot of different service work, which has kept me pretty busy lately. That raffle ticket thing has really gotten me super busy lately. I feel like it's just got me, like, talking to a lot more people lately, which has been really good. I can feel, like, just better just in the past month even, since doing that one. So yeah, I mean, I would say just dive all into this thing, and you will get some good results. And I think I'm just going to end.
Let's give another big round of applause to Curtis.